just for those new, I'd like to share a little bit about our chef, Morissa Harris, who's a graduate of Johnson & Wales, and also a long-time assistant to her father, who is a fabulous cook as well, but has taken care of all of us in senior living for a long time with specialty that she brings to each meal every day for our residents. So we are excited to have her today, and her sidekick, Trevor Connor. Please welcome him. And a great menu for today for your Thanksgiving. So I really encourage everybody to try it. So Morissa, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, for today's show, I'm just going to take my mask off so you can hear me a little bit better. Welcome everyone to Kensington Cooks. Today for you, I am going to prepare a chestnut and brioche stuffing, which is going to be in a turkey roulade with a Granny Smith apple galette. And it's going to be a delicious meal for everyone. I know this Thanksgiving might be very different from what we usually celebrate with our loved ones. As you know, the numbers may have decreased and family may not be traveling, and everything that you typically do may have changed due to this pandemic. But we still want to encourage you to cook for your family, cook for yourselves. You know, you still need to feel the self-love, and your family needs to feel the love. So I'm just going to prepare something a little bit different. Maybe this is something normally what you would do in your household, but some of you may not be doing your traditional turkey because you're not feeding as many people. So I just wanted to do something a little bit simpler. Maybe some of you might not think it's as simple, but just so you don't have a big turkey with a lot of leftovers. So we're gonna start off with a brioche chestnut stuffing. You can use any kind of bread you want, preferably day-old bread. The older the bread, the better. It just will not cause your stuffing to be so wet and soggy. So preferably day-old bread. If you don't have day-old bread, you can just sit it out, let it dry up. You can even toast it in the oven for a little bit. But whatever bread, you know, the fancier the bread, the better. Brioche has a lot of butter in it. You can use challah, you can use white bread, whatever you want. You don't have to use bread. You can use, you can stuff it with cranberries, and some people use wild rice, some people use nuts. I have a little bit of already prepared celery and onions. If you want, you can put leeks, which we talked about if you've been to our previous cooking shows. Leeks just add a different flavor than the onion, which is still in the onion family. Some people put pepper, some people put sausage. Really, whatever you like is what you can do. So to this, I'm gonna add a little salt and pepper for season. I cooked some chestnuts, which, you know, during this time of year, chestnuts, people roast them in the oven. They have a great, I love roasted chestnuts. My father used to make them during the holidays, just something I remember. So you just take them, wash them. You want to cook them probably within 1 to 2 days. Keep them in the fridge until you're using them. And you just score them with a cross at the bottom, or score them somehow, because the buildup of pressure in the oven can make them explode. So you just want to score them. It's going to help be easier to peel. Put in the oven for about 25 to 30 minutes. They'll come out hot, obviously. Let them cool down before you start to peel. And just give them a rough chop. If you like chestnuts, it's going to add a little crunch, a little creamy flavor. And then to this, I'm going to add some fresh parsley. To the onions and celery, I previously sauteed it, and I added some sage and some rosemary. Sage is one of those flavors that, you know, just reminds me of Thanksgiving. It smells wonderfully. Trevor, I'm sure you can smell it.
Yeah, it smells good.
You're gonna add a little beaten egg. It's gonna help bind your stuffing together. And just remember this, we're not cooking it in a casserole dish, we're stuffing it. We're adding it to our turkey. So it can be a little wetter. You know, some people prefer dry stuffing, some people prefer wet stuffing, but you don't want it too dry because it's going to be the center of your turkey. So you do want it a little wet. To this, I'm going to give it a little mix. And to this is just turkey stock, chicken stock. You can use vegetable stock, obviously, but if you're eating turkey, no reason to use vegetable stock, right?
Right.
But whatever you have on hand, and just combine it all, mix it all. Our turkey, funny story, I went to the grocery store to get turkey breasts, and the butcher showed me where it was. I got 2 turkey breasts, boneless, and when I opened it yesterday, they were completely different sizes. One was a little deformed. So, you know, when you get stuff at home after you go to the grocery store, maybe you're at the grocery store, you're following a recipe, you know, if you're not very comfortable with cooking, you're trying something new, you might be following it to the T. And then what happens is you have to kind of make quick decisions if you can't find exactly what you want, or if something is not the way that was intended, which can be a little tricky and intimidating. So I just had to play with the turkey. As you can see, here's our finished product, which looks beautiful. But the other raw turkey I had was a little bit all over the place. So obviously don't go crazy too much. At the end of the day, if something doesn't look right, it's still gonna taste good. If you follow the recipe or if you add different flavors that you like, it's still gonna look and feel right. Just gonna grab some gloves. So we have our finished stuffing, which is just wet. It's all combined together. The turkey breast, I'm gonna show you that as well. So when you open up your turkey breast, like I did, it came in a little package. And when you open it, it was in a net. You take the net off. And it looks something like this, if you can see it. It didn't look pretty, but I made it pretty. So what you're gonna do is just butterfly, which means simply take the thickest part of the meat and just glide your knife through so you can open it. So you have, this is called a butterfly. You do it on any kind of meat. You just open it up, and hopefully you can see now, it's just open. You want as much room as possible to work with your breasts so we can roll it up and stuff it. If you don't open it, then it's almost going to be impossible to roll your turkey and keep everything in. So to this, I'm going to put a piece of plastic on top, which is going to just protect my turkey as I'm going to butcher it, or pound it. And you're just going to hit it, and excuse the noise. I want it to be nice and even. Spread out. You want to gain as much room so we're able to roll it. Okay.
Morissa, what did the turkey do to you? Are you upset?
Right. It's a good way to let out all the aggression from, you know, you're not able to be with your family and you're not able to celebrate the way you want to intended to celebrate. So that's a good way to get it all out. So it's nice and evenly. You want to make sure you do it evenly because obviously you want your turkey to cook all at one. If you have thicker side, thinner side, it's gonna, one side's gonna be cooked all the way, one side's not gonna be cooked. And then you're gonna have a dry side and a moisture side. So you wanna keep it as even as possible. I'm just gonna add to this salt and pepper. Now, traditionally, you know, some people just bake their turkeys in the oven. Some people fry them. If you do fry turkeys, growing up, my dad used to fry turkeys. He would always have a smoked turkey, a fried turkey. He would switch it up. but they were always so delicious. Obviously, if you fry a turkey, you want to be as careful. You want to know what you're doing. Keep a fire extinguisher nearby. But there's people that brine a turkey, which adds flavor and moisture, which is salt, sugar, water. You brine it for 8 to 24 hours. If you do it longer than that, then it can make your turkey kind of fall apart and not, all the salt and the moisture is not going to give a good turkey texture. So if you do brine a turkey, there's no need to baste it. And there's really no need to baste it. I know that's like a thing that people do, but if you take, well, we're going to do it today, but if you baste your turkey ahead of time with butter, then there's really no need to keep opening up that oven every 30 minutes and baste it. Some people have been doing it for years. That's the way they make it. So that's what they're going to do. But you really don't have to. Think about that. To me is like the added stress. Keep putting the timer on, keep putting the timer on, and keep going to open up the oven just to baste it. You really don't have to do that. But if you're not comfortable and that's what you know, then that's what you can do.
You know, Morissa, as I'm watching you make this, it's very creative, but yet somewhat simple. And just thinking in this whole thing of COVID and not, having a whole bunch of people over, this looks like something that could be interactive with the family, with kids, as far as like the way you, mashed up the stuffing. Kids could get involved in that. Definitely smashing the turkey. I'm sure your daughter probably would love that, right? But it looks like something that could be very interactive with the family as far as putting it together, because it doesn't seem so difficult in how you are setting up. Now, I see you tying the turkey up like you're holding it hostage. What is that for?
Well, this is going to hold the stuffing in place. So it doesn't all ooze out and come out. And you don't want your turkey to collapse. You want it to keep its shape. So, mostly when you're cooking stuffed meats or a roast or something that you want to keep the shape, it is a good idea to tie it. Some people might not feel as comfortable, but it's not hard. You're just going to keep the form of what you're going for. It's going to make your finished product look good. When you're cooking a turkey, some people, it's best the wings of the turkey to tuck under, because they're going to get burned quicker than the rest of the bird. And then it's best to tie the legs of the turkey, which will keep them together and keep it more uniform. Some people, I don't know if this is more an older thing, but I do know some people stuff their turkeys, their whole birds. I strongly would tell you not to do that. And I think most professionals will tell you not to do that. When you stuff a turkey, there's all sorts of salmonella and germs that are not going to cook away as quickly as your bird. So when you're cooking your bird, you want to cook it to 160, 165. You're going to allow it to rest. It's going to continue to cook. But more importantly, your stuffing that you're putting inside that bird is not going to cook proportionate to the turkey. So you're going to have a cooked turkey, but then you insert a thermometer into the stuffing and it's still going to be not at the right temperature. So then you're going to end up with an overcooked dry bird. So I would strongly suggest cooking your stuffing separate. And you can stuff the turkey with other things for flavor. You want the fragrancy. So some people put citrus, you could put fresh herbs. Those are things you're not going to eat. It's just going to make the turkey more flavorful. And when I talked about not basting a turkey, you want to smear butter all over that bird generously inside the cavity. That's what's going to help keep it nice and moist. So to this, I'm just going to add a little bit more salt and pepper. And then I should have been heating this up, but this is just butter that I'm going to just melt down with some fresh herbs that I've already put in here. Some rosemary, some sage, some thyme. And then I'm just going to baste this. And then this is all, I know, Trevor, you said this looks easy.
Right?
Well, it might look it, but
It's not.
well, it's not that it's not, but some people might say, no way, I can't do that. Like, I don't even know how you just did that. I really wasn't even paying attention, but I looked down and it was done. So
Mhm.
it is not hard, but if you're not familiar with doing this, it could be very intimidating, but you're not gonna know unless you try it, right?
Right,
Obviously.
sure.
But it's not hard, but I say that with ease because I've done it. But it's
No,
not
it
hard.
looks fun. It's almost, you got a little arts and craft thing with the ropes, or, you know, the string tying it. It reminds me of when I was younger. And for those of you that have been watching us over the past few months, you know, I always have a vegetarian angle on some of the things that we've done. Not that I'm vegetarian, I eat chicken, turkey, fish, but I was raised vegetarian. So, you know, vegetarians are always looking for another option. And when I was about 16 or so, they actually, one of my mom's friends made a turkey out of this like vegetarian chicken roll. And if you are a vegetarian, you know where you can go to your store to get this vegetarian chicken roll, and you basically formed it into like a turkey and then put it in the oven so they can hold the form, and then kind of like with what Morissa had, just put the stuffing inside of that, I don't want to say fake turkey, but turkey alternative. And so this really reminded me of as she was stuffing it like that. So if you are a vegetarian, look for, it's a chicken roll that you can find in some of your stores that provide those meat alternatives.
Morissa, we have a question.
Sure.
What kind of string do you use to tie up the turkey?
This is just called twine, butcher's twine. You can probably get it at any grocery store. I think it's readily available these days. But definitely, like a Whole Foods definitely carries it. Trader Joe's carries it. But probably at any store, any grocery store, you can find it.
And then Martha was wondering if you can use cornbread for the stuffing.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, you can. One of the dishes I make usually for Thanksgiving is a cornbread and sausage stuffing. But yes, but once again, with the cornbread, you don't want to make it that morning and stuff it in your turkey. You want it to be a day old cornbread or 2 days old, just to kind of dry it out.
And while she's stirring this, I wanted to take the camera a little closer just so that our audience can kind of see what it really looks like up close and even the finished product. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna come over here.
And this drink that you may see me drinking is a drink that Trevor's gonna make a little bit later. But it's just to kind of keep me in the spirits of Thanksgiving. To get us started. It's always good to have a drink in your hand when you're cooking. It makes things better. Even if you make a mistake, it makes it better. So while Trevor's showing you what's going on, I made ahead apple cider gravy, which when you make gravy, it's best to keep any kind of drippings from your turkey to add more flavor, and just strain it out and then start from there. If you don't, you can omit that and start from scratch. You just take equal parts flour and butter, or flour and oil, and cook it down and make a roux. And I added some apple cider, and I added some turkey stock or chicken stock or vegetable stock, whichever way you're going. And then I didn't put it in here, but you could put a sprig of fresh rosemary for some extra flavor. And you just cook it till it thickens up. And you just usually have a whisk while you're adding your liquids to the roux. And Trevor, I'm gonna have you just taste it, and I'm gonna drizzle it over our turkey. You can tell me what you think. It's hot, so be careful.
And
And then when your turkey comes out the oven, you definitely want it to rest. You want it to rest. If you cut your turkey, well, this is with a whole turkey or any kind of meat, to be honest. You always want it to rest, because if you cut it too early, the juices are not going to evenly distribute through your meat, and you're going to dry it out as quickly as possible. And that is what you do not want. So you want your meat to rest. It doesn't have to cool completely, but you want it to rest enough where you're able to then cut it the way you want to. I'm just going to drizzle this on top. And, you know, some people love gravy, some people not so much. So you can always just keep this on the side and let people decide how much they want. I just wanted to finish that off for you. Trevor, I'm not sure if you want to show that again.
Sure. Yeah. The gravy is so good, I would actually drown it in this gravy. Let me let you see what that looks like right there. All right. You guys have to try it. So if any of you at home were still trying to think about what you were going to make, this is definitely a great option.
Okay. So I hope everyone can see the turkey. So we're going to pretend it's in the oven. It's cooking. You want it to reach at least 160. Turkey and chicken is one thing that you cannot undercook. But if you pull it out at 160, you can put a piece of foil on top. It's going to continue to cook even when it comes out the oven. But it needs to reach an internal temperature of 160 at least. And when you're cooking a whole turkey, you want to always temp the largest piece of meat. So the breast is what you want to temp. If you temp the thigh or the leg or the wing, that's gonna, without a doubt, be at the right temperature. But the biggest piece of meat that you want to test is the breast. That's gonna give you the most accurate read.
About how long are we looking at for cooking this?
This?
This size, right?
This is about 30 minutes, 35 minutes. It took me, I have a conventional oven, but every oven is a little different. But the best way is to get a meat thermometer, insert it, put it at the temperature you want to cook it to. It'll beep. It's a no-brainer, and it'll tell you when it's ready to come out. So that's your best bet. We're gonna get ready to start our dessert. I'm just gonna change over a couple things, so just excuse me.
No, sure. And while she's doing that, you know, with the whole Thanksgiving being limited to just maybe who's in our house or so, or small numbers, and you may have been used to doing certain traditions that you have in your house, and maybe some of those, maybe you don't have any, but because it's more intimate now, maybe this is the time that you do think of some sort of Thanksgiving tradition. Like for me, we make a purposeful intention on everyone saying individually what or they are thankful for. Not just, you know, wake up, you smell the food, you eat, you watch football. Thanksgiving obviously is more than that. And so I think that it's important that we are understanding, especially in this year, what we truly can be thankful for, the highlights within everything going on, the sun rays within the storm. And so maybe even in the chat, if you have a Thanksgiving tradition, put it in the chat what you guys do. It may even give some of us who don't have one some great ideas on trying to do something that is still fun, and so the focus isn't on who's not there, but who is and what that really means. All right, what else do we have going on here, Morissa?
Okay, so we're going to be making an apple galette, and some people may not know what a galette is. And it's French for a flat cake. It's a cake or some kind of pie that's used without a tin or a baking dish. And this too can be intimidating because we're making our dough from scratch. But it's rather easy. So I'm going to, I have some pre-sliced apples that I'm just gonna strain over here so it's easy. They've just been sitting in some lemon water, just so they don't discolor. Let that sit. And I took about 2 to 3 Granny Smith apples. You can use whatever apples, preferably baking apples. Pink ladies are acceptable, whatever your preference is. To this, I'm going to add some cinnamon, some vanilla extract, and some sugar.
Sugar.
And I just melted about 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to add this as well. Give it a little mix. So while this is sitting, just getting some flavor, I'm going to show you how to make the crust. Or the dough. So I already pre-measured. In here I have flour, just all-purpose flour, sugar, and a little bit of salt. I'm going to add this in to my food processor. It's very easy. It's kind of like a 1, 2, 3-step process. Give it a quick mix just to blend it all together. To this, I'm going to add cold butter. You want cold butter. If it's too soft, it's going to ruin the texture of your dough. So cold butter, you can make this in advance, 2 to 3 days in advance. And you can just keep it refrigerated until you need it. If you do make it ahead of time, just pull your dough out at least 15 minutes before you're going to use it, just to get it room temp. It's going to be easier to work with. And I'm just going to pulse this until the butter becomes like a pea size. Perfect. And then the finishing touch is just some ice cold water, about a 1/4 cup of ice cold water, just to kind of bring everything together. And then when you look inside, you're going to say, oh my gosh, that's not a dough. But it's going to really come to life when you take it out and form it with your hands. Your hands are definitely the key. I just want to make sure I have enough.
Can I show them how you're kneading that in there? Let me see if I can get that over here.
So it's just going to start to come together, if you can see this. And that's what you want. It's not going to look like a dough. You might even say I didn't do it right, but I promise you it's all going to start to come together. So from here, I'm just going to put some flour on my surface and on my rolling pin. Just clear this out the way. I'm just going to make some space so you can all see.
And while she's doing that, maybe even in the chat, like, definitely, I love what she's making. Obviously, Thanksgiving, you're gonna have your pumpkin pie, sweet potato pie, apple pie, peach cobbler. Are there any other desserts that you guys make that may be non-traditional that you like to make? Like, for instance, my grandmother, and we look forward to this every Thanksgiving. I actually keep the tradition going at my house, where I do a Jell-O, not just a regular Jell-O, but a Jell-O with cream cheese, ice cream, vanilla ice cream, and we put in a little amaretto, probably about maybe a 1/2 ounce of amaretto for flavor, and then re-gel that. It is excellent, excellent. But of course, you would never find or hear that at any Thanksgiving dinner, but it's a light dessert. It's excellent. But so you may have a different non-traditional dessert. Put that in the chat if any of you make that. All right, what else do we have going on here? So you're making a mound of something.
Yes, so I'm just gonna make a little disc just to form everything. And at this point, I would probably put it in the fridge for about 15 minutes, but you're also gonna pull it back out so we get room temp for about 15 minutes. So there's really no need to do that if you're gonna use it right away. If not, you're gonna store it in the refrigerator, wrap tightly in plastic until you need it. Just remember to pull it out at least 15 minutes ahead of time, so it can get room temp. So this rolling pin is very special to me. It was given to me by a former resident daughter. This resident was an avid baker.
Yes.
You know who I'm talking
Yes,
about?
I do.
I
Yes.
didn't even tell Trevor. I didn't tell
Yes, I
anyone.
do. She made the best strawberry pies. Oh.
But I've used this quite a bit, and I tell you, ever since I've used this, everything I bake turns out perfect. So it might just be in my mind, but one of our residents that lived in independent living, she was the best baker. And she used to bring all sorts of sweets down to meals, share with everybody. And I won't forget that when she did pass away, her daughter asked me to make one of her famous cookie recipes, which was a dough that I had to make from scratch. And, you know, it was very intense and intricate. And I was like, oh gosh, I hope I live up to it. But she told, I mean, I didn't know what it tasted like or what it was supposed to be like. I've never heard of the cookie and I don't remember specifically what it was. But I thought they were delicious and her daughter thought they were delicious. And that's what mattered the most to me. So this means a lot to me. So I'm just gonna start rolling this out. You shouldn't really need a lot of flour, but if you do need a little bit, just so it doesn't stick, you can. And once again, just like you pounded your turkey evenly, you just want this to be even as well. And you want probably an 8-inch to 10-inch diameter. Not too thin, not too thick. It can definitely be more rustic. You really can't go wrong with this. This is one of those desserts. It's gonna taste good. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just gonna add a little flour. And then the pretty part is when you start layering all your apples. You can do any kind of design you want. Just leave a border around the rim, just like if you're making a pizza. And you're just gonna add your apples. And this is fun. This is where you can get the kids involved, or the grandkids. I know my daughter right now will be doing this, but licking her fingers in between. And you may not wind up using all the apples, it depends. But I'm just gonna do probably a double layer. This wasn't so bad, Trevor. Would you try to make this?
Oh, definitely. I mean, like you said, it looks pretty simple. I've never done any dough from scratch, but definitely willing to try. And definitely I would be like your daughter, wanting to lick my fingers. I was always the bowl licker. How many of you guys were the bowl licker in your house? Yeah, because that looks delicious.
Yeah, anytime I'm baking with my daughter, if I turn to get something, her hands are always in her mouth. I'm like, not yet. But it's cute. All right, so that's really all you're gonna do. You can add more, add less. And then you're just gonna start kind of pleating. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like I said, it can look rustic. It can look kind of however you intended it to be. And this is all it's gonna look like. To this, you're gonna melt some butter and just put it over the crust. And then you're gonna take some sugar and just put it on top, sprinkle it on top of your crust, sprinkle it on top of your apples, and you're gonna bake it for about 45 to 55 minutes. And some of the juice may extract it, but it'll burn off in the oven. I'm just gonna bake it on some parchment and it's perfect. It's just, you know, everyone does pies, but this also is acceptable. It's different. You know, people might say, what is that? But I think it's something fun, something unexpected. And there you have it.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Very good, Morissa. Man, again, I'm sorry that you're not here to taste, but don't worry, I got your back. I'll take care of all of that. All right, no, that's awesome, awesome. Something great to eat as far as the turkey, and then right after with the dessert. That's gonna really be awesome. Do you already know what you're gonna be making for Thanksgiving dinner in your house?
I don't yet. I'm gonna be working, so I told my husband we'll probably do it on Friday, but I know he'd rather prefer something other than turkey. So we're gonna decide probably tonight or tomorrow, but whatever it is, it'll be special. You know, I know this year we're all very thankful and grateful for a lot of things. But you know, also in my household, because can't do Thanksgiving without football, but in my household, in my parents' household, football is always on. It's always been important. So I do know the Cowboys always play because of my husband.
Yep. Traditions,
and my
right?
father
Traditions.
always wants the Cowboys to lose, so it's always a beautiful thing to see them go at it. But you know, we're all very grateful and thankful this year. It's been a hard year for everyone, but you know, food brings everyone together, whether it's through Zoom or in person or just pulling up at somebody's driveway to maybe just deliver something. You know, I don't have a lot of family in Maryland, but for many, many years, we went to one of my parents' good friend's house. After my dad has cooked for many years, but we started going to their house, and she is a wonderful cook, and she used to always make these little individual, she made it for the table, but then she made it for everyone to take with them, these most delicious pumpkin bread, individually wrapped, beautiful. It was like the best. It was so good. But that's something, even now during COVID times, to have someone take something with them as instead of eating it there. But yes, we should all be grateful this season. So thank you all. Trevor's now going to make the drink that I have been sipping on to kind of get us in the mood of cooking and Thanksgiving. So I'm going to hand it over to Trevor.
Sure. No, that's great. Definitely, sometimes, like you said, trying to get in the mood. I'm going to get my little bar cart over here. Right. And, you know, as Morissa was talking about trying to be creative, one of the things I thought about is maybe even setting up a couple of different camera angles in the house. Kind of like when you watch a TV show, you always have from different camera angles, and maybe that's going to be more immersive for your family to be able to feel like they're in the home as well, not just the straight head-on camera, maybe something on the side or closer to the table, like they're at the table with you. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to be making an Apple Mojito. All right, so I have some Bacardi Light. You can use apple schnapps. I chose to actually use a sour apple pucker. You want to have a little bit of lime juice, obviously, and some of mint leaves. And I even cut some apple slices that we're going to use for the garnishment, and even put a little bit in the glass itself. All right, I have a little simple syrup, which is like sugar water right here. Basically putting some sugar in hot water, stirring it, and going to show you how we kind of put all of this together. I'm going to take some ice cubes here, and I'm going to use it like a muddler here because I want to be able to kind of get some crushed ice. Crush it up a little bit. I feel like Morissa pounding with the mallet here. Get that down. There we go. All right. And then I'm going to just probably about, I don't know, depends on how much you like your mint. About 5 to 6 pieces. You may like a lot of the mint flavor like I do, so I put in a little more than that. All right. And then you want to put in probably about maybe an ounce or so of lime juice and about, depending on how sweet you like it, again, all this is to taste. So even with the Bacardi light rum, it calls for 2 ounces, but that might be a little too strong for some of you. You might like a little more of that apple flavor and not so much of the bite of the rum. So for me, of course, in the past, you guys have known me to have a nice sweet tooth. So, and yes, I get clowned for it sometimes. They say, oh, you like all those little soft, sweet drinks and whatnot. Hey, it doesn't matter. A little something every now and then. Remember the last one that we made last time was the old fashioned. That wasn't sweet. So balance in life, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to crush the mint leaves to let the mint flavor get through the juice, right? Okay. Get that all going in there.
Muddle. It's called muddle.
Yes, muddle, muddle, muddle. See, I'm just kind of smashing that. All right. Then we're going to pour some of the ice on it. Okay. I might have to put in a little more ice in that. And what's really important, right? Like I said, you can do ounce, 2 ounces of this. And then about another ounce of the apple schnapps or apple pucker. Depends how you like your apple flavor. And then I'll even put in some apple slices for flavor, as well as it looks great. Everything a little green to your table. Never hurt anybody. Just top it off with a little bit of ice there. Of course, we're going to stir that up. Let that mint flavor, bring some of those mint leaves on up. All right. Oh yeah, there we go, there we go. And then I'll even put a nice little apple garnishment right on the top. And I don't know if I'll bring it closer to the camera so you can see it right here. So you have a nice little mint and apple slices. And the best part is obviously at the end when you can taste it.
Cheers.
Cheers, cheers.
Thank you so much. That was delicious.
Oh, that's great.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We hope you have a safe holiday. And thank you so much to Trevor and Morissa. And we will see you back on December 1st for our happy hour. So we're excited for that one. It'll be a holiday happy hour episode. So be safe, everyone, and thank you so much.
All right, see you.